know in advance, but we tend to all pretty much vote the same way. Few exceptions, but probably 90-some% of the time we vote the same way. But if you're in this kind of situation on a high-profile vote, these kind of things become critical. Now, those are kind of the big three. I haven't given up hope. I had given up hope earlier this year. I looked at the stuff, you go in and it gets discouraging. You go in, you work hard, and you get pounded. And then you get up and go to the next vote and get pounded. You go up and get to the next vote and get pounded. But all of a sudden, you know, the Republican Party that was given up for dead, the conservative movement that was given up for dead, has revitalized. And they're scared. That's healthy. Now, so we're not out of it. But I wanted to touch, I mentioned a couple other issues, but let me finish with this and then see what comments and questions you have for me. We're fighting this in every committee, in every way. So we just want to qualify. Government reform, we just made it so that homosexual couples who can't get married by law will be covered like married heterosexual couples. The Republicans, some of them, not me, had this bright idea that, oh, let's put pressure on them by making non-married heterosexual couples eligible for the health benefits. I said, I don't think that either. I believe in marriage. That's what the point of the benefits is supposed to be for married couples. So I wound up siding with the homosexuals against the Republicans on heterosexuals, which was confusing. But nevertheless, it was because at least homosexuals aren't they can't get married. Heterosexuals can get married, and they're choosing not to. Why should they get benefits? All they do is do a superficial marriage. Not like there aren't all kinds of problems. They're deliberately choosing not to be married. And that the point was marriage, not what your activity was. That's the marriage debate. Should we recognize that? Then over in education and labor, we had a similar debate going on this, and we objected to homosexuals being covered under the marriage clause, and that Miller finally turned and said, are you done with all those, or we didn't have a debate? So then he turned to his side, because they had apparently had a brawl. They were late coming out with the thing, because they wanted transvestites and transsexuals covered. And we had some of us who are a little less informed, we're trying to figure out the difference. But we got this cross-dressing versus those at sex change operations. And that it's like, what planet am I on? And then you go over and watch Safe and Drug-Free Schools. They took drug-free out of the bill. It's now the Safe School, which historically has been aimed at guns. They want to change the drug prevention message to white guns are bad. But now they've appointed a homosexual in charge of Safe and Drug-Free Schools. His career was cut on having school programs to get kids to not bully homosexuals. So after he gets appointed, our first hearing is to call him up and say, how can we steer the money to make sure? Now, how do you educate kids to not bully homosexuals? You teach them that it's an acceptable choice. You're born that way. It's genetic. Why should you beat up somebody who has a genetic, it's not predisposition. You have predispositions to all kinds of things. They're saying it's not controllable. And that if it's not controllable, you shouldn't pick on those people. Verbally, after all, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. They determine it. Names hurt me more than sticks and stones, they merely break bones. And in this, because psychological damage is much more harmful than any physical damage, that in this challenge, you go, okay, so let's go over to Homeland Security. They don't want to build any more fence. They want to back off from the fence we are. They want to, at least they're going to be more humane in the detention centers, as one of them told me there, that they've added 7 dental assistants and 2 dentists because at least when we send these people back, they'll have good teeth. I said, well, that would be nice for my district if we're going to do free dental care, which I don't favor, but then let's do it for citizens, not non-citizens. They want to, they're putting all kinds of restrictions on the Border Patrol. He's raised about citizenship, and then over another Homeland Security thing. This seems really obscure. They wanted to make chemical safety at plants from terrorists. You have to have inherently safer technology. Inherently safer technology. What in the world is that? First of all, it's not defined in a dictionary anywhere. It's a liberal term that's very useful. And they're going to allow citizen lawsuits against chemical companies if they didn't have inherently safer technology, because a citizen lawsuit can't go on Homeland Security grounds. So they're going to make it citizen lawsuits. So if you don't think that, let's pick the biggest target, anhydrous ammonia. Farm Bureau says it's still at 8%. No, not exactly. No, it's $8,000 per standard average farm in the United States. No, it's 8,000. It's some phenomenal figure. Farm Bureau says it'll basically, because urea is an alternative, there's not much urea, the prices will go up, and it will have incredible damage, and small farmers will lose this. That's what Farm Bureau says about this, because they're after anhydrous. And to show how stupid it is, somebody had video, we had a New Jersey guy who was saying, look, we could restrict it in New Jersey, it's a chemical company, and we put in inherently safe technology, and one of the things is we have less anhydrous ammonia stored. Well, doesn't that mean, since they're not reducing the amount of anhydrous ammonia, that they have to have more shipments going in trucks and across the highway? Well, yes. Aren't those less secure than inside the armed gates with people with guns and barbed wire coming in? Well, yes, but we don't regulate the roads. What? That's government talk. There wasn't a what's inherently safer, so we got an amendment in that said it had to be inherently safer, at least for the whole system, not just the part that's here. And then another challenge inside this is I represent the #1 manufacturing district. Guess what? Every part, every RV has some kind of a mineral or chemical in it. And if we can't get this stuff out of the ground, if we keep raising the cost, we can't make things here. In case they haven't heard, China's already cheating on the currency. They steal the patents. They don't have minimum wage, clean air, clean water, parental leave, ADA, you name it, and then they cheat the currency and steal the patents, and now they're certainly not looking at cap and trade. It's rumor steel mills over there where they don't have any regulations, and you look at this fundamental difference and say, oh, yeah, let's make it hard, as Phelps Dodge and others who were in the copper mining business explained to me. If we can't get the copper out of the ground here, you're not going to be making magnet wire in Fort Wayne, because we aren't going to ship the rocks from Peru to Fort Wayne. We'll make the wire there. And that if we can't get minerals and chemicals in a feasible way, we can't have an RV industry. We can't have modular housing. We can't have defense electronics. We can't have any of this kind of stuff, because it takes all kinds of things. And that every time they do another regulatory burden, we disadvantage the jobs. Well, the good news is we won't have to worry about health care, because we won't have any, because we won't have any jobs and won't be here. That ultimately, if you don't have your economy